deal with it, so I better like it by the end. With the Dahmer biopic coming out, I decided today's topic should be serial killer close encounters. I found a couple of scary Reddit threads asking, have you ever had a close encounter with a well-known criminal / serial killer? This person said, I'll go first. When I was younger, people from my town and the surrounding towns would be invited over to this farm for a barbecue. The farm was, I believe, a pig farm where the owner would raise his pigs and sell them for meat. Every year, he'd have one of these barbecues where families would show up and eat these pigs. My family never went. It just didn't seem like our thing. Well, little did everyone know that this man was Willie Picton. He had been murdering women and feeding them to his pigs. I don't know what I was expecting, but I don't think it was that. Oh my gosh, he's so lucky his family did not go. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Okay, so he was feeding them to the pigs, which he later killed and fed to people at these barbecues. I know tons of people who are vegetarians now who went to these barbecues. I know not really that close of an encounter, but still really scary stuff, and I'm wondering if anyone has had any similar stories. What a start. I went to Virginia Tech and had a class with, I am so sorry, I'm about to butcher the fuck out of this name, but I'll spell it down below. Seyoung Ho Cho. I feel like I said it right. On the first day, he introduced himself as from Planet X. He didn't speak for the rest of the year. When the professor asked him to read a passage aloud, he walked out and didn't come back for a few days. He started stalking one of the girls in the class until she called the police. This was about a year before the massacre. When I was 15, I was cast in a musical about an hour from my hometown. My mom didn't want to drive me, but a couple of people in my musical could see how important it was to young teenage I'm going to be an actress me. So they offered to drive me from the daily rehearsals all summer. I spent hours with this one guy. He was normal, nice enough, constantly hit on me, but whatever. Last year, he was all over the local news for sexually assaulting his neighbor. Then I don't know if you can hear the crickets outside, but I really hope you can for dramatic effect. He sexually assaulted his neighbor and then chopped her and her boyfriend up and buried their bodies in the local park. The weirdest part was that only 2 or 3 days before the murders, I ran into him at a bar. We exchanged numbers and planned to hang out in the near future. Dodged a bullet. About 5 years ago, I worked in Chiapas, Mexico. Hopefully I didn't butcher that as well. I used to go to the country club with my brother to get some lessons and play some tennis. There we met an American by the name of Charlie that was there every morning with his wife and young kids. He was a volunteer instructor there, so we played with him and talked to him and his wife a couple of times. I even played with his kids, a boy about 3 that already could return the ball and play some slow points, and a girl about 6 that was already winning some kid tournaments. Suddenly he stopped going to play and no one knew why. He just disappeared. A week later, we found out that one of his neighbors found the bodies of his wife and kids inside their house when he smelled the decay from that house. Turned out they had been dead for a week and Charlie was missing, apparently on the run. They found his body a month later in a room of a hotel in Guatemala where he killed himself. He was an ex-cop from Alaska, wanted for murder of a woman in Las Vegas, and he escaped to Guadalajara. There he met his wife, whose family later reported as kidnapped. Seemed they had just moved to Chiapas and started living there. To me, he just seemed like a good guy with that little happy family that enjoyed to play tennis. So, that was pretty shocking. Not really a close encounter, but my grandmother was murdered by Henry Lee Lucas and Otis Toole. Edit, there really isn't a whole lot to the story. My grandmother and her husband, not my grandfather, owned a book liquor store in Austin back in the late 70s. Toole and Lucas just happened to be driving by, got out of their car, walked in and shot my grandmother in the face 3 times, and then turned it on her husband. They never actually caught Lucas and Toole. The two sat across the interstate drinking beer and watching the sheriff department conduct their investigation. That blows my mind. It was only years later when the building had been changed into a bank, I believe, and Lucas was being transported in a squad car that drove by the place, and he said, me and Otis killed a man and a woman in that building. My father, who is now a hotshot attorney, was a cop for years, and he even agreed that they knew far too much about the case and about what happened inside that was never released. So yeah, kind of crazy. That was back in October of of 79, so I wasn't even born yet. My dad has John Wayne Gacy's business card. His family is from Chicago, where Gacy was traveling door to door working for the Democratic Party during the 70s. At this time, I believe he was actively killing boys and young men, but he hadn't been found out yet, obviously. He was doing publicity work, I believe, and came to my dad's house and talked to my grandpa for some time. See this chick? Her name is Tabitha Buck. Back in 1991, she used to sit beside me on the bleachers during roll call for the 11th grade gym class. One day she came to gym class late, a few minutes late, showing up with a huge scratch on her face. Well, it turns out she was late because she had just finished murdering a girl named Lori Show with two friends and decided to come to school to finish out the day, presumably for an alibi. The scratch was from a victim who fought back. They made the story into a TV movie. A fucked up and tragic story. You know what? This just reminded me of something that happened at my high school. Okay, so story time. My high school was wild, and there are a bunch of stories that I could say right now that would probably blow your mind and be like, bitch, where did you go to school? But there was, I forget what year this happened. I want to say junior year or sophomore year maybe. But anyway, there was this guy who dated this girl, and long story short, because I don't know all the details, he murdered her in the neighborhood that was next door to our school, and he had the fucking audacity to come back to school and wash his hands and continue to get an education. I don't know whether or not he's still in jail, but I hope he is. But a less violent fact about my high school, the Duffer brothers also graduated from there. That makes everything okay again. Now back to some fucked up stories. I met Glenn Beck back in 1990. It was a close call. That's all they wrote. They're not gonna give us more than that. My wife went to the same school at the same time that David Berkowitz was a student. He was a few grades higher. Also, a coworker was living amidst a spat of killings of lovely young women in a Chicago neighborhood several years back. She called a locksmith to have new locks installed and to check out the security issues with her apartment. Later, it turned out the locksmith was a killer all along. He would rifle through women's apartments while he was installing locks, and if they discovered him doing it, he would murder them. Oh my god. What supposedly saved her is that she never let him out of her sight the whole time she was there. At least, that's her story. I refuse to ever fucking live in an apartment. Do you hear me? Let me rephrase that. I refuse to ever live in an apartment alone, okay? Like, I refuse, because maintenance people always are fucked up. Like, I'm so sick of reading stories about maintenance men doing some fuck shit to women. Just do your job and leave like everybody else. I cuss a lot, and I cuss even more when I'm talking about stuff I'm passionate about. I would have been such a fun person to watch on a debate team. Probably would have gotten kicked out. I worked with Richard Chip Williams, convicted child molester, for 5 years. My family was friendly with his wife and kids as well. We lived in the same neighborhood. Nobody suspected him. I mean, nobody. He had a seemingly perfect life. Great job with financial security. Very, very pretty and nice wife. Wonderful kids. Threw it all away by screwing an 11-year-old for 3 years before he got caught. I feel terrible for the victim and Chip's wife and kids. My coworker murdered his wife. Clifford Olson was a Canadian version of John Wayne Gacy. He used to kill young boys, then buried them in his basement. Well, my mom's a realtor, and she was hired to sell this house back in the 80s, and there were no legal need to divulge this information, so it's sold to some family fresh off the boat from China that spoke no English. Also, Robert Picton Pig Farm / Hook Graveyard is a kilometer from my house, and one of my sister's friends' mom was a victim of his. Can't remember her name though. My freshman year roommate and I played beer pong against this guy, Christopher Borco, who went to our college. The next weekend he went home and murdered his father with an axe and nearly killed his mom as well. Also, dude does not take losing beer pong well. Seriously, he got upset when we won. It was my biological dad's 30th birthday when we decided to throw him a surprise party and invited a bunch of people from his work. My brother and I were in our room playing on the Sega Genesis because it was all adults and we wanted to stay out of their way. Jesus, I can't read, I'm sorry. A couple of months later, my parents were watching the news, and Danny is on TV. He ended up being Daniel Cohen Jr., the Hog Trail Killer. He killed over a dozen homosexual men in our area and had tortured them and left them tied to trees in the woods to die. Not my own story, but some family friends of ours who had an experience with the Zodiac Killer. They were together in their car on Lover's Lane, or whatever the spot was called where couples went to hook up. The wife got a weird feeling in her gut and begged the husband to leave. He was kind of upset because he was in town for one night from the military, so this was their one night together. Finally, she convinced him to leave. They told the other couple at the spot that they were leaving because at the time the Zodiac was known to be active, so people kept their eye out for each other. Years later, the Zodiac wrote into the newspaper detailing one of his killings on Lover Lane. He described the exact car and said there were two couples left, and he was going to take out both before one of the couples went up to the other and gave them the heads up before leaving. Right when they left, he killed the couple that stayed. Every detail of the night, from the date to the cars to the time of the night, matched up perfectly, so they knew it was them who left just in time. Oh my gosh, I am vomiting and crying at the same time. I can't even comprehend the survivors' guilt I would have if this were me. That's what I've been saying to like every story. Oh my gosh. Years ago, when my mom went to visit a friend of hers, sat bored out of my mind while they sipped their teacups and waffled on all afternoon. The friend's rather weird adult son, quite a bit older than me, was also there in the house but didn't really engage much. I barely spoke more than a few polite sentences to him. My parents didn't tell me till years later, but he started stalking me. They would hear all sorts of sounds at night. I had no idea, just carried on as usual, biked to school, stayed after for gymnastics, biked to the pool for swimming, etc. I'm not sure how long it lasted. Fast forward to a few years, a young girl in our town went missing after school. A week or so later, they found her body dumped. You guessed it. It wound up being the son of my mom's friend. That's when they told me what happened. Apparently my mom finally caught him, and a word was had with his parents. What the fuck? First of all, your parents are dead wrong for not giving you a warning. That's fake. Your parents are fake. It really be your own family. How do you not warn your child that some weird shit is going on? I would immediately tell my son or daughter, listen, you be extra careful. Actually, matter of fact, you're not allowed to leave the house without me. I will be driving you to and fro. Okay? Okay. When I was a kid, back in the 80s, a friend of mine and his friend up around the corner from me were offered money by a guy to go up to the field with him. I can't remember the specifics as it's a long time ago and I was very young, but I think he offered him money to pick blackberries. My friend said no, but the other boy said yes and went with him. His body was found the next day. He had been stabbed to death. He was only 8 years old. I remember the months that followed. Every parent was super wary about leaving any of us to play in the street. The guy's name was Kyle Goran. If you want to Google it, it happened in Waterford, Ireland. I was in high school with this dude who had a reputation for being very hyper and crazy. A lot of people didn't like him, but he was not an outcast. For some reason, he liked me and would occasionally ask me for help with math, which I did. He later moved to another school and I didn't think of him much again until he showed up on the news for for beheading a dog and carrying its head around in public. Turns out he also held an autistic man hostage in his apartment and tortured him. All of this done while on a meth rampage. I'm speechless. I'm about to read the last story. The next story is the last story. We are done for the night. It was 1989. My dad was driving down a road late at night. He lived in Florida. As he was driving, he saw a woman on the side of the road trying to hitchhike. My dad, being kind-hearted, slowed down to give her a ride, As he slowed down, he had a chill go down his spine, and he had the worst feeling he's ever felt in his life. He did not pick up that woman. That woman was named Elaine Warnos. I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing her name right. I know who this is. She killed a man on the road later that day. My brother exists today because my dad chose not to pick up that woman. And then somebody commented years ago, I was driving down the road, our long country road, and it was raining hard. I go around a curve, and there is this black-haired woman in a nightgown looking like she just crawled out of the TV, walking down the road in the rain. I kept driving into the story, saying, bro, you did the right thing. Well, that's all I have for you guys tonight. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and all that other jazz. And again, if you have your own scary experiences that you would like to share and have me read in a future video, please email this email. All my information is available down below. Again, thank you for watching. Namaste. Have a nice day, guys.